Hey everyone, welcome to our very first Own Your Curvy Life podcast. Uh,
Yay!
we are your hosts. I am Jan Tannery, the owner of Botticelli in Smithfield, Rhode Island.
I'm Cynthia McNeil, better known as Cindy. I am the assistant manager at Botticelli, and I've been there for a little over 3 years now.
And she keeps me on my toes. So this podcast is straight talk about living with curves. Cindy, I don't know if you were always a bigger kid, but I was actually my mother's scrawniest kid until my tonsils came out, and she swears to God that's when the weight gain started. And by the time I was 13, I weighed 250 pounds and I was 5'10". So I have never not known a curvy life. And you?
Yeah, my same. I was always the big boned. I was just big boned, and that was it. That was how I grew up. Throughout my life, I've always been big boned compared to all my friends.
And now, so you and I were born in the 70s. So I like to call us 80s babies because that was our sweet spot. That was junior high. That was, oof, honestly, I have cut up and destroyed every picture of me. I swear to God, from 1985 to 1992, gone. Which is
But
saying
we had
something
the
because
best
my
music.
mother's, huh?
We had the best music, though.
Oh my God, we had the best music. We still do. I mean, 80s, 90s. Yeah. I graduated in
Yeah.
92. But we were of the generation of androgyny. I think it's so interesting right now that we're dealing with all this non-binary stuff, and that's like a conversation for another day. But in the 80s and 90s, late 80s, really, like when Duran Duran came out
Yeah.
and Boy George, and
Yes.
I mean, we really had some fuzzy lines of sexuality then, and they were really breaking the rules as to
Yeah.
the whole mold of men are men and girls are girls kind of thing. But with that said, there was a lot of androgynous messages. So like a Benetton, zero curves. I remember
Yes.
all those Teen Beat magazines or all those magazines, People magazine that you would get, and you'd see all these commercial or all these ads or commercials, and they were women without any curves whatsoever.
It's a
And
board.
so, huh?
It was a board, like Kate Moss at the time. I was like a stick
Yes.
figure. Like there was no curves whatsoever, no breasts, no butt, no waist,
No hips,
nothing.
no thighs, no nothing.
Compared to going back with Marilyn Monroe being that sexy, curvaceous woman.
Yeah, but you know what too? Like, I mean, there was Twiggy at the middle of 60s. So like I feel like we are constantly doing this like evolution of like what's in
Yeah.
fashion, and thank God
Yeah.
over tweezed eyebrows are not coming back. Please, dear God. We learned that lesson for you girls. Don't be doing it now. Trust me, I've got one eyebrow that goes into like another zip code because of years of doing that. However, so we were given a lot of like really funky mixed messages. Also, we were the first generation where so many of our moms were out of the house or working and on a regular basis. So there was a lot of like pre-processed foods and things like that that was coming. And you and I, we talk about this often about how, I mean, our diet all through high school was Dexatrim, 2 Dexatrim in the morning, a Diet Coke. I drank nothing of nutrition or ate nothing of nutritional value until lunchtime. And then it was like fat-free, sugar-free, full of chemicals, blah, blah, blah. And then you'd
Mm.
come home and you'd have like a little snack that was like fat-free, sugar-free, nothing but carbs, no protein, no fats, whatever, but full of chemicals. And I swear to God that that's like killed our metabolism.
I lived in high school on Susie Q's and Sprite.
Oh, remember? And you
Like
like, yeah, uh-huh. And
Susie
you're,
Q every day at lunch. It's the best lunch ever.
but I mean, part of this whole today's podcast is really sparked by the fact that over the new year, we were watching a lot of we were hanging out with our husbands and hanging out on the couch or whatever. And there was a lot of TV and there was a lot of this like new year, new you crap and every diet commercial known to man and every program known to man and every gym known to man. I mean, I think the day I texted you and I said, I know what our first episode is going to be about. I had watched no less than six commercials in a row, peppered in with diet drugs. And my feeling is new year, same damn plus size me. Like I'm fabulous. Like, I understand you and I are in that checking that 50s box now, my friend, 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm checking that box. I want to get healthier for the new year. This year was 2023 was a little rough for me, for you, and we basically took care of everybody but ourselves, and we're paying the price for it. Hence the orthotics and
you
the
gotta
Tylenol by
oil.
the handful.
Yeah, you change the oil in your car, you take care of it. Yeah, and it lasts.
No, sister, I am long past the 10,000-mile oil change and tire rotation. Trust me. Look at these.
I need like that big one, the big 100,000 miles.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. The expensive one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're up on a rack for a week. That's what I need. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they go, how did that still run?
They're like, oh, is that what the starter sounds like? Who knew?
That's what I'm supposed to feel like now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a while since I felt like me, but I have to say this. I mean, all these commercials that I've been watching, even though I'm super comfortable with myself, I almost kind of was like, should I be feeling bad about myself? Like, is this?
That's what it's designed to do, is make you feel like you should be ashamed of yourself and bad about you and like not love you.
Yeah, and the whole diet industry really is just banking on triggering your insecurities and the body shaming that our generation got really badly body shamed. And I think, and I am not a doctor, I'm not a PhD, I'm not even a research scientist. However, I think because our generation was the first generation of eating all of those chemicals, right? And we now know that like that's not great for you or whatever. We were also a generation that we had cars earlier than the generations before us, right? So we did a lot less walking. We did a lot less completely lost train of track, but they're basically banking on the fact that we are carrying baggage, childhood trauma, insecurities, and they are just pressing their thumb on it. And they do a really good job of shaming you that if you don't have big exercise or weight loss goals, then you're not cute. You're not, I don't know, well, like you're just
look
not.
At when they start out. Look at when they start out. They're wearing not fashionable clothes. They're wearing like these older clothes and their hair's not really done. And then they go through this transformation and oh my God, they're put together like a stylist put them together and the makeup's done and the hair's done. And it's like,
yeah,
no,
yeah. Like they always find the worst before picture they can possibly find. And not just that she was at her heaviest, was that she looked like she was homeless and dragged out of a dumpster 3 days ago. By the way, friends, not all plus size women look like that every day. And also skinny girls don't look like movie stars every day. So how about we just stop with that crap?
It's shaming. It's a form of shaming.
And it's like subliminal shaming because we are so used to being shamed, specifically our generation. We're so used to being shamed that we don't even recognize it as shaming, right? We call it motivational. No, that's not motivational. That is making me feel so bad about myself that all I want to do is face plant into a box of Sweeter's chocolates. That's not telling me that I'm getting to go to the gym. Like I feel like the motivation is wrong, but that's just me. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I hear you. I feel as though like if you don't go to the gym and you don't do this, like everyone starts out all the same and we're all like, oh, gung ho. And then after a couple of days, it's like,
by the 11th, everyone today, full disclosure, today's January 11th. I haven't heard one person talk to me about our New Year's resolution, like at all. So Sorry, weight loss industry. And listen, I'm not Listen, we at the store, being a plus size store, are noticing the effect of when I first opened, gastric bypass and all those kinds of things were becoming a big thing, right? And I thought, wow, this is going to be a problem for me. My whole business model is built around plus size women and making them feel good about themselves in the skin they're in. And I thought that gastric bypass was going to be a problem. It really hasn't been a problem. We're now learning that the grass isn't always greener, right? We found out. And I'm not here to shit on anyone's journey because, and it's funny because so many people are afraid to tell me that they want to have gastric bypass or gastric sleeve. And I don't know why they're afraid to tell me because I hope that I don't come across as judgy, but I do think that I exude a certain like, dude, this is it. Go with God. Like, bam, bitches. This is me. It's pretty freaking fabulous. And if you are not on this train, you better get a ticket. But that doesn't mean that I don't want you to be a healthier version of you, or I don't want you to do what's best for you. And I'm not the one to tell you what's best for you. Right.
Right.
And, I've been on yo-yo diets forever. Full disclosure, I am on a diabetic drug right now, or a diabetes drug right now that we all know is going to cause some weight loss. I don't
I think
want,
they all do now.
I,
I think it's not like it was before where no one, like, it didn't do anything but treat your diabetes. I think they all are finding that when you're starting to do it, you want to do better, and they all reach, you're losing weight no matter what you're on, whether it's an injectable, whether it's a pill, whether it's just a nutrition factor for diabetes. Everyone is, it's designed now to be that way, I think.
yeah, and I think you're right because I remember complaining when I first opened that obviously I'm in a plus size situation, so I see a lot of diabetics. And what was interesting is that they were giving them all insulin and they were yelling at them to lose, doctors in the medical field, and which, by the way, is going to be a whole other podcast. Like, we don't have that kind of time today to talk about the skinny privilege in the medical field, but we are going to get into that. But they kept yelling at them to lose weight. But the problem is that the insulin, straight up insulin, doesn't let you lose weight, right? As you and I have both been told. And so what was happening is that they just kept gaining more and more weight, which, by the way, just made them feel shittier and shittier. All the new diabetes drugs now do have that brain trigger turn off, but then they are designed to help people lose weight and to manage their blood sugar, which is great. This is what we want for them.
Twofer.
Yeah, but at the same time, we're noticing this effect, and we're making accommodations here in the store. We're starting to carry larges and extra larges, and we too are just noticing what they call the Ozempic effect, and you see that in like a million commercials. So I'm not like calling out one particular person, but we also know that if you come off the med, some of the weight's going to come back on, right? Like, if you're going to have gastric surgery, I got no issue with that. I question whether or not people do it because they want to be pretty, or are they doing it because they want to be healthy? If we're doing it for the healthy, I'm here for it. If you're doing it to be pretty, it's none of my damn business, right? That's kind of my philosophy on it. But all I want, if you do have the surgery, like I say to my girlfriends all the time, like, if you have the surgery, you're going to drop a ton of weight. You're going to drop 70 pounds right off the get-go. And that's what I have seen for 21 years of doing this, is that, like, they drop 70 pounds off the get-go, and then some can lose more, some don't, but then your body will always fight to go back to being bigger. So it's not, I know that people have come to me, right?
It doesn't stop the brain.
Well, it doesn't stop the brain, but also your body will always fight to go back to its biggest.
Yeah. Really?
It will always fight to go back to its biggest. So that's why you see people who have
almost like muscle memory on that kind of idea, maybe?
No, it's called fat cell memory. is actually what it's called. And, talking about like, 80s and 90s and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we really are not taking genetics into play here. And we are all built to be a little different. I'm 6'2" now, like, no, no, there's not a lot of people like me. But we're all built to be different. That's, genetics, and, clients will come in and say something about that they don't like their body. And I'm like, but your mother or your grandmother was probably shaped the same way. Oh yeah, my father's side. Hi, genetics. Let's just go with that. Right. Um, but your body will always fight to go back to being its largest. So long as mentally you're prepared that you're probably going to gain back 20 pounds or 25 pounds, or that it will always still be a battle, right? When they come to us and say that they're, having surgery or they're taking the pill and they feel
Oh
like
yeah.
they're cheating.
Yes. Yes. I know I feel sometimes that you're taking the easy way out. That's like how people will perceive it. They'll say, oh, you're taking the easy way out, or no, you're not. There's no easy way. Everything's a struggle. Everything's a battle. So I agree.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend of mine who did have gastric surgery, and someone gave her some shit that she was, well, you could have lost that weight anyway. She's like, no, I couldn't have, because I've been trying for 25 years to lose this weight and I can't lose this weight. So thanks.
We've all been there where we've watched our food, done the portion sizes, done many of those no carbs, high protein, no, none of this and none of that, and going to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. And no, I'm not a gym rat. I can't do it. Like, do
Well,
I
no, you
enjoy
got
going
like
to
the
the
600 kids. How can you find time to go to the gym? I know 4 kids,
listen?
but that still seems like
It's
a
400.
thousand.
It's 400, not 600, but it's all right. Um, but I've never been a gym rat. I've
I hate to
never enjoyed.
exercise. I hate it. I like to get
I
out.
like,
I like to golf. I like to do those things. Please don't ask me to
yeah,
run on a treadmill. I would rather
no.
no.
I love doing some of it. Like, I like doing gym when I want to, not because I have to. I don't want to. I love doing the yoga. I like doing all those. I like to try new things. Don't get me on a zip line. Don't think I'm going skiing. But other stuff I like to do.
I don't do any of the ins, hiking, skiing, camping, none of it. None of the ins.
What about glamping? That's fun.
No, I'm
You
too
stay in a
big to
hotel.
glamp. Do you have, oh, yeah. All right. So
See, you
my
stay.
version of camping is Hotel 6. Like that's as roughing it as I'm going, right? That's it. My husband's like, yeah, no, she's not there's no
Mm-mm.
roughing it with Jan. Um, yeah. So here's the other thing. I feel like for you and I, um, there was so much punishment in what we were doing, right? Like, so when our mothers would, I mean, I think I was 8 when I went on my first diet. Um, there was so much punishment and it was so punitive. It was kind of ridiculous. Or, when they would drop you off at the gym because you weren't driving, and they would drop you off at, I'm trying to think of what the big gym was. It wasn't Eileen Darlings, but
Goals, goals.
no, we didn't have Golds on the East Bay,
No,
but it
but
was
it was
an,
mixed messages. Didn't you find that it was mixed messages during the mealtime? It was you got to eat
oh
and
my
finish
God.
what's on your plate.
Yes.
But then after everything was done and over with, it's going to be hard to find a boyfriend or find someone's not going to. You got to lose some weight. You got a pretty face, but you got to lose some weight. An hour ago, you're just telling me to finish everything on my plate. There's
Right.
starving kids everywhere, and now you're telling me that I'm too fat.
Yeah, no, you are
It was mixed.
absolutely right. Like I come from an Arabic home. They like freak out if you're not eating. If you go to your auntie's
Yeah,
house and she pulls out a whole thing and you're not eating or you don't have seconds, what's wrong with you? And
right.
then like in the buffet line on Easter Sunday, your grandmother's pinching your back fat going, you are never going to get married if you stay this fat.
Yeah, it was total mixed messages. Oh, that's all
Awesome.
you're going to eat today? That's all you're going to. Oh,
Or
yeah.
how about that it was just socially acceptable that boys could be big, but girls couldn't?
They still can.
Right.
They still can.
Well, yeah, but I think that boys are catching some crap, and that boys are now dialed into all the social media and like, yeah. Honestly, I'm so glad. with the childhood trauma you and I carry, which is, yes, another podcast. But with all of that, I can't imagine had social media been a part of our lives then. Like People magazine came to the house once a week, right? Like it was not, we were not bombarded with it, even though there was terrible messaging, even though there was so much. By the way, body shaming did not happen just at school. I did not know, if you want to know the truth, I did not know. I always knew that I was a big kid because my mother always had to take me to the bigger kids' departments because I was so tall. But I didn't know that I was fat until I was 8 years old. And I can tell you what I was wearing. Like, I can tell you everything. We were on Cape Cod. My parents were building a home and we were there clearing the lot. And my parents' very good friends were there, and the husband's two kids. And the two kids were very athletic. They were very svelte, but they were genetically predisposed to be that way. And we were sitting on the lot, and we were having lunch, and someone offered us all cupcakes, and we all took a cupcake, and that was fine. We were little kids. And then the father, before he packed everything up, said to his daughter, "Do you want another cupcake?" And she took one. And I said, "How come she gets a second cupcake and I don't?" And he looked at me and said, "Because she's not fat." And then my parents and everyone else that was standing there proceeded to laugh. And I will never forget that day. And it wasn't until that day did I know that there was something wrong with me. And I swear to God, that was the day the binge eating disorder began, because you can see it.
Wow.
So then again, it would have been right around the time that like my tonsils came out. Right. So like it was all together. My mother had already said, "Oh yeah, when her tonsils came out, she packed on weight." I don't think so. I think that was so hurtful. And that really just started like this avalanche of bullshit that got lobbed at me about my size. I mean, I was called Orca in high school by family members. I was completely ridiculed on a regular basis for my not only my weight but my height. That by
You
the
can't control the height.
No, but by the time I was in high school, my self-esteem was in shambles. And then every day someone was telling me I had to diet. Like, or that not only that I should be ashamed of myself, but they were ashamed of me that I was big. And I still like, there's still some of that like every now and again, someone just leans on something a little bit and it just triggers so much shame and self-loathing. And I just automatically jerk right back to childhood. And oh my God, when it happens, like I almost get like goosebumps, like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But that's truly where it started. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And I don't never once did someone stop that person and say, "Yeah, no, not my kid. No, thanks."
And stick
Right?
up for you,
No,
so to speak.
no. And I wasn't, we were of a generation where we couldn't talk back to adults. So I wasn't in a position to stand up for myself. Right. So, or encouraged or allowed, but that was the generation. So I can't really blame my parents.
Don't be heard.
Yeah.
Don't be heard.
And so as a result, yeah, like I'm still carrying some of that stuff, and it still kind of like bubbles up at 50 years old. And I don't want to go through the next decade like that. And I feel as though our ability in the shop to empower women to drop some of this shit encourages us to drop some of that shit.
Yeah. It's helped, I have to say. I know I've seen a difference in myself and the confidence that there's still days that I don't like me, that I will put something on and be like, ugh, I don't feel good today. But on an overall basis, I know I have to be strong in order to make someone else strong. And I've gotten that from being you, like being confident in myself. Like when we're working with customers that come in and that they automatically come in and they have that look in their face like they've just been defeated.
Don't you
And
just like when you see that on them? First of all, you want to hug them.
oh,
And second of all, you can like read it on them. Like
yeah.
sometimes I will say to women, "Oh my God, I'm holding my breath because you're holding your breath."
Yes.
Like this is going
And
to
that
be fine.
and there's a moment in any of the appointments or even when it's just like regular shopping that you see everything just change in them and it's like that's what I wanted to see and it's just a good feeling like you actually can feel the vibe change completely when
Yep.
they see themselves in the light that they should.
Yeah, I think that there is something incredibly liberating and there's like a self I want to say gratification, but I can't think of another word for it. But there's something about letting women off the hook from all the baggage that they have been forced to carry over the years when it comes to their bodies. I can't say anything about being moms. Obviously, I'm not a mom, or a grandmother or any other life choices, but I can look at a woman and say, this ain't that bad. We just got to like fix a few things up a little bit and we got this. And
Yeah.
there is something about handing that to women that is so intoxicating. Like I could live off of if that could pay my bills, bitch, I would be living like in Beverly Hills at this point because I it's so intoxicating to hand women a whole new lease on life and just be like, the woman who always covered her arms and then had gastric bypass and her arms still had like, she wasn't in love with them, which PS, we all know that any woman over the age of 30 hates their arms. Okay. Like it's not a weight thing, it's an age thing. And we all just move on. But the day that I convinced her to go up Federal Hill and meet some girlfriends and that she could wear a sleeveless dress, oh my God, the attitude that just sashayed her ass out the door. And
Yeah.
then the, email you get later about how men turned and looked at her,
Yeah.
or she felt so confident she could care less if anyone was looking at her. And she just felt like she had gotten a whole new lease on life. Love it. Love it. I can't get enough
Be-
of it.
because it's sexy to be confident.
Oh, honest to God, that's the
It's
sexiest thing ever. Like,
like
yeah, a
it
brain
just
and
it's like,
confidence,
oh
forget it. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's sexy in men or women, right? Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we only have like a few minutes left, and I just want to do like a little bit of business here. Is that I'm if you're new and you've never shopped with us, we are located in Smithfield, Rhode Island. You can find our website at botticelliri.com. Cindy and I and the rest of our staff, this is what we do. We try to alleviate fears. We try to bring women to that next phase in life where they feel like they can conquer the world. It's not just about clothes, it's an attitude. And if you have questions or if you have topic ideas that you think that we should address, I know that because we sell clothing, people think that this should just be a fashion podcast, but I don't really feel as though the fashion is the bigger issues that we deal with on a regular basis here. I feel like we all have stuff and we're all dealing with the stuff and we're dealing with the stuff in a whole new world, right? Like I look at what kids are dealing with today. That's not the stuff that we dealt with, but
No.
we're dealing their stuff is kind of like a mind quagmire. Ours was like a physical one.
Yeah. They are not mentally capable sometimes of dealing with some of the stuff that we just were given. We were just given stuff and figured it out. I don't know, that they're socially inept in a way. They don't know how to interact because everything is about computers. They don't hold books in school anymore, and everything's done through
Yeah, there's not a
apps.
lot of interpersonal.
No, and they don't know how to act with others and have that rapport, so to speak. It's a lot for them to adjust to
Yeah, I mean,
when they
I'm
have
not
to.
saying that they have it easier than we do. They do on
No,
certain things and then they don't on other
no,
things, right? So let's just say every generation is carrying baggage. Every generation gets something from the generation before that they'd like to ditch. I do feel as though that we still see like an I feel like kids today are more accepting of different things than we were,
yeah,
right? So like we all had to, now granted, you're still going to have, every girl needs to have a Stanley and everyone needs to have tall boots or the platform Uggs or hyaluronic acid in third grade. Relax, okay? You do not need hyaluronic acid in
but at
third
least they're
grade.
moisturizing. Think about it. Their skin is going to be much better by the time they hit 30
Oh,
than ours was.
I started using oil of Olay at 10. And that not
You,
having kids. Woo, look,
I was just
by
going
the
to say,
way,
you're better
chubby
than
girls
I.
age so much better.
Thank God.
We age really well. But there it's so interesting to me that our generation, if you didn't look like societal norms, right? We were attacked one way or the other.
Yeah,
They are way more open-minded about some of that stuff. But at the same token, I'm not sure that they've got great coping skills because they don't interact with humans on a regular
right,
basis. And I think the whole like they don't carry books or they don't hold book like I think that that's like our stuff that we're putting on them. Like
okay,
I have a nephew who doesn't drive and he's like 26, 27 years old. And the only one it bothers is not him, right? It bothers like the older generation. But then when I think about it, I'm like, okay, but our generation, we needed to drive a car for independence or to see our friends. And these guys, they don't have to be in the same room with their friends to be with their friends,
right,
right? They play games together. They're online. They see each other all the time. So they do interact, but it's like one dimensional. It's not three dimensional. It's kind of weird. Um, they're going to have stuff too. And someday they're going to have a blog talking about the baggage and the stuff that
yeah,
other people gave them. So I think that we just don't understand their stuff, but that doesn't mean that they don't have stuff.
right,
Right.
yeah,
So I do love to see that girls today aren't so boy crazy or they're not so like, your daughters, if you're like, oh, are you dating anyone? Your 17-year-old daughter, or no, not even 16.
she's 16. She'll
Yeah.
be 16 next month in a few weeks.
Right. But she carries herself so much older. P.S. She works in the store because I absolutely love this kid. She reminds me of me. Um, that's the reason I love her. But she has no interest in that.
No,
And
it's
for
about
our
school
generation, that was
education.
like the epitome. Like you
Yeah,
had to get a boyfriend, you had to get married, right? So it's kind of nice that they're not carrying that stuff, but they're
yeah,
carrying other stuff.
yeah,
So, and this is like a crazy world to try and navigate as a teenager. I cannot imagine. I can't imagine. Anyway, that's a story for another day. 400
I,
children you have
I
all.
got to go through it a lot. I go through it a lot.
Yeah.
Please.
God bless you. I don't know. When you want to
That's why we
have
need
a
this outfit, this outlet to enjoy. So,
So anyway, ladies and germs, please follow us at Botticelli RI on Instagram or Facebook. And we will be posting this to YouTube soon. All right, guys,
Thank
thanks
you
so
so
much for
much.
tuning in for our first inaugural podcast. Hope we
Thank
didn't annoy the
you.
crap out of you. Thanks.
Bye.